The sea has always held our secrets. For millennia, it has been the great highway of civilizations, a vast and often unforgiving canvas. Trade, exploration, conflict. It connects distant shores. It also swallows history whole, hiding it beneath its shimmering silent surface. Every now and then the ocean offers a whisper from its depths, a faint echo from a long-forgotten age. These moments are rare and precious. The past is not truly gone. It's waiting, locked away in a timeless embrace, ready to be discovered by those who dare to look. This is a story about one such whisper, a message that traveled 2,000 years to reach us today. It begins not with a grand expedition, or a deliberate search for lost treasure, but with a quiet observation, a flicker on a sonar screen. In the tranquil waters of the Mediterranean, a team of researchers stumbled upon something extraordinary, something that had rested undisturbed on the seabed since the Roman Empire. They had found a ghost from another era, a vessel that had met its end long ago, its final moments frozen in time beneath the waves. The initial discovery was shrouded in mystery. What was this shape lying so perfectly on the ocean floor? A collection of rocks, a geological anomaly mimicking something man-made, or a shipwreck, ancient and untouched? Excitement ran through the research team. Every archaeologist, every historian, dreams of a find like this, the ultimate prize, a direct portal to the past, a time capsule sealed not by human hands but by the immense patient pressure of the deep sea. This single incredible find would soon captivate the world. It was more than old pottery or rusted anchors. It was a chance to see a Roman vessel not as fragments but as it sailed the seas, laden with goods. Crewed by people with hopes and fears. A promise to answer questions we didn't know how to ask, a tangible link to lives long gone. The whisper from the deep was about to become a roar, echoing through the halls of modern archaeology and changing our understanding of the ancient world forever. The Mediterranean Sea is the cradle of Western civilization. For the ancient Romans it was not a barrier but a bridge, a vast, liquid superhighway they called Mare Nostrum, our sea. From the Pillars of Hercules in the west to the shores of Egypt and the Levant in the east. Roman ships crisscrossed its waters with remarkable frequency. They carried legions to conquer new lands, administrators to govern sprawling provinces, and, most importantly, a constant flow of goods to feed the insatiable appetite of Rome and its empire. This sea was the lifeblood of their world, the engine of their economy, and the stage for their grand historical drama. Imagine the sheer volume of traffic that once sailed these waters. Giant grain ships from North Africa, their holds filled with wheat to make bread for the masses in the capital. Vessels from Spain carrying precious metals, olive oil and garum, the pungent fish sauce beloved by Romans of all classes. From the eastern provinces came exotic spices, luxurious silks, fine glassware and marble destined for magnificent temples and villas. This was a bustling, thriving network of trade, a testament to Roman engineering ambition and organizational prowess. Every single journey was a calculated risk, a gamble against pirates, storms, and the simple, unpredictable nature of the sea. Inevitably, not all of these ships reached their destinations. The Mediterranean floor is a vast underwater graveyard, littered with the silent remains of countless vessels that succumbed to disaster. Storms could appear with terrifying speed, hidden reefs and treacherous coastlines claim their share of victims. For centuries these wrecks have rested in the abyss, their stories slowly dissolving into the saltwater. Most are lost forever, their wooden hulls consumed by marine organisms, their cargoes scattered and buried by shifting sands. Finding one is rare, finding one that is almost perfectly intact is the discovery of a lifetime, and that is precisely what makes this story so astounding. The shipwreck found off the coast of Greece was not just a pile of broken timbers and scattered amphorae. It was a complete vessel, resting upright on the seabed as if it had gently landed there only yesterday. Its mast was still in place, its rigging partially preserved, its cargo hold still packed with the goods it was carrying on its final, fateful voyage. This was not just another wreck, it was a miracle of preservation, a ghost ship that had sailed directly out of the 1st century and into the 21st, bringing with it the secrets of Mare Nostrum. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through the archaeological community, and soon after, the world. It is one thing to read about Roman trade in history books or to see recovered artifacts displayed behind glass in a museum. It is another thing entirely to see an almost complete Roman merchant ship resting in its final underwater resting place. The announcement sparked a wave of excitement and intense curiosity. For academics, it was a potential treasure trove of new data. For the public, it was a romantic and thrilling connection to a distant, almost mythical past. The find dominated headlines and news broadcasts around the globe. The initial images released to the public were breathtaking. Rendered from sonar data and footage captured by remotely operated vehicles, they revealed the ship's elegant, ghostly silhouette against the dark blue of the deep. You could clearly make out the curve of the hull, the strong line of the keel, and the incredible sight of hundreds of amphorae still neatly stacked in the hold. It was a scene of eerie tranquility, a moment of commerce and travel from 2 millennia ago, frozen in an instant. It was a photograph of history itself, untouched by the passage of time. What made this discovery so universally captivating? Perhaps it is because a shipwreck is a story of human drama. It speaks of a journey begun but never finished, of lives cut short, and of a world of commerce and connection that was suddenly and violently interrupted. We can easily imagine the sailors on deck, battling against a rising storm, the wind tearing at the sail, the waves crashing over the sides. We can picture the captain making a desperate calculation, trying to save his ship, his cargo, and his crew. This single object connects us directly to the human experience of the past in a way that few other archaeological finds can. The location of the wreck, deep within Vathi Bay off the coast of the small Greek island of Kassos, was also key to the story. This region, at the crossroads of the Aegean and the wider Mediterranean, has been a hub of maritime activity for thousands of years. It was a vital channel for ships sailing between Italy, Greece, and the wealthy provinces of the east. The presence of such a significant wreck here suggested that this was a major and perhaps perilous trade route. The discovery was not just about one ship, it was about understanding the entire network of which it was a part, a lost world of ancient seafaring waiting to be mapped. The initial announcement was just the beginning. It opened the door to a monumental undertaking, a project that would bring together experts from multiple disciplines and countries. Marine archaeologists, historians, conservationists, robotics engineers. The challenge was immense. The wreck lay at a depth that made it inaccessible to human divers for extended periods. Its study would require the most advanced underwater technology. A carefully planned and executed mission to explore, document, and understand this incredible time capsule without disturbing its fragile state. The promise of what this ship could teach us was almost limitless. The cargo itself was a primary focus. By analyzing the amphorae and their contents, traces of wine, oil, or other goods, archaeologists could pinpoint the ship's origin, its destination, and the specific trade route it was following. This information could help rewrite our maps of Roman commerce, revealing new connections and economic relationships. The personal belongings of the crew, if any could be found, would offer an even more intimate glimpse into the past, the daily lives, beliefs, and diet of ordinary Roman sailors. Furthermore, the ship's structure was a prize in itself. Ancient texts and mosaics give hints, but nothing compares to a real physical example. How was it constructed? What kind of wood was used? What techniques did the shipwrights employ to make it strong enough to carry tons of cargo? By studying the hull, the keel, the mast, and the rigging, researchers could gain unprecedented insight into the genius of Roman naval engineering and technology. This was a masterclass in ancient craftsmanship, preserved for us to study. As the world watched and waited, the project to explore the Vathi Bay shipwreck began to take shape. It was a quest not for gold or jewels, but for knowledge. The treasure this ship held was its story, and the archaeologists were the detectives tasked with piecing it together. Trade and technology, risk and reward, life and loss. The deep, silent waters of the Aegean were about to give up one of their most profound secrets. The journey into the past was about to begin. So, the story of this discovery begins not with a grand archaeological quest, but with a different kind of mission altogether. A team from the Hellenic Center for Marine Research was actually conducting a routine survey of the seabed. Their main goal wasn't to find ancient history, it was to map the ocean floor, to better understand its geology, its ecosystems. They were using state-of-the-art multi-beam sonar equipment, a technology that basically paints a detailed picture of the underwater landscape by bouncing sound waves off the bottom. Day after day, their vessel methodically crisscrossed the waters of Vathi Bay, slowly building a three-dimensional map of this hidden world beneath the waves. For the most part, the work was, well, pretty predictable. The sonar screens displayed the usual contours of the seabed, gentle slopes, rocky outcrops, vast plains of sand and silt. The technicians just watched the data stream in, their eyes trained to spot geological features. But then, something unusual appeared. It was this subtle shape, an anomaly that didn't quite fit the natural patterns around it. It was long and, oddly enough, unnaturally symmetrical, with a distinct, clean outline that really stood out from the rugged seafloor. It was just a moment of quiet curiosity, a small puzzle in this vast expanse of blue. Initially, the team was cautious. The deep sea is full of strange shapes and, honestly, sonar can sometimes play tricks on the eye. Maybe it was a unique rock formation, or perhaps the wreckage of a more modern vessel. But the more they looked at the data, the more intriguing it became. The object was the right size and shape for an ancient ship, plus it was located in a region known to be a historical maritime highway. The possibility, however remote, really started to take root in their minds. So, the decision was made to investigate further. The coordinates of the anomaly were carefully logged, a digital pin placed on their underwater map. A sense of anticipation started to build on board the research vessel. They were scientists, trained to be objective and methodical, but they were also human, totally susceptible to the thrill of the unknown. They had found a whisper, a question mark lying on the seabed nearly half a mile down. The next step was to get a closer look to turn that faint sonar shadow into a clear image. Finding a single shipwreck in the vastness of the Mediterranean is, honestly, an incredible challenge. People often compare it to finding a needle in a haystack, but that doesn't even begin to describe the scale of the task. The sea is just immense. Its floor is a complex, often chaotic environment. For centuries, countless ships have been lost, their exact locations unknown. They're scattered across thousands of square miles of water, buried under sediment, broken into unrecognizable pieces. To find one, especially one from the ancient world, requires meticulous research, advanced technology, and a very large dose of good fortune. The team knew that Vathi Bay was a promising area. Historical texts and local knowledge suggested these waters were a critical corridor for Roman shipping. Animated map of ancient Mediterranean showing trade routes converging on the Aegean near Khasos. Ships from the wealthy eastern provinces to Italy would have navigated this channel. It was a known route, but also a dangerous one. The region is known for sudden, violent storms and unpredictable currents that funnel between islands. A perfect place for a ship to get into trouble, a perfect place for history to lie hidden. The search wasn't blind. The Greek-American research team, a collaboration of experts, had been systematically exploring this area. Part of a long-term project to map underwater cultural heritage of the Khasos-Karpathos Strait. They sought evidence of the ancient maritime network, years poring over ancient maps, studying historical trade accounts, analyzing geological data to narrow likely wreck sites. A slow, patient process of elimination, crossing off section after section of seabed. Even with careful planning, success was far from guaranteed. The ocean doesn't give up its secrets easily. They surveyed many square miles, finding rocks, sand. Each day was a huge investment of time, resources, and hope. The anomaly's discovery was a pivotal moment, the culmination of years of patient, dedicated work. It was the X on their treasure map. The needle had potentially been found, now they had to confirm it was the one they'd searched for all along. With the location of the anomaly pinpointed, the next phase began. It was time to send in the robots. The wreck lay at a depth of around 600 meters, or nearly 2,000 feet. This is far too deep for human divers to operate safely for any length of time. The immense pressure and total darkness of this environment require specialized equipment. The team prepared to deploy their remotely operated vehicle, or ROV. It was equipped with powerful lights, high-definition cameras, and robotic arms, all connected to the surface vessel by a long umbilical cord of cables. The ROV was carefully lowered over the side of the ship, descending slowly into the deep blue. On board, in a darkened control room, the pilots and archaeologists gathered around a bank of monitors. They watched as the depth gauge ticked steadily downwards. The water grew darker and darker, until the only light came from the ROV's own powerful lamps. The tension in the room was electric. They were about to be the first human eyes to see this object in 2,000 years. The ROV's sonar guided it towards the target, its thrusters humming as it navigated the final few meters. And then, it appeared. Out of the inky blackness, a shape began to resolve itself in the glow of the lights. It was not a rock. It was the unmistakable curve of a wooden hull. As the ROV moved closer, the full spectacle came into view. It was a ship, and it was breathtakingly complete. The robot's camera panned across a scene that left the experienced team speechless. They saw row upon row of amphorae, the large clay jars used for transport, still neatly stacked as if they were packed yesterday. They were covered in a fine layer of silt, but their shape was perfect, their arrangement orderly. The ROV continued its slow, careful survey, its lights sweeping across the wreck. The pilots guided it along the length of the vessel, capturing every detail. The ship was resting upright on the seabed, slightly tilted to one side. Its wooden timbers were dark and ancient, but they were there. The team could make out the strong central keel, the ribs of the hull, and even what looked like the base of the mast. It was a moment of pure discovery, a profound connection across the centuries. The sonar anomaly was no longer a mystery. It was a Roman merchant ship, a perfect time capsule from a lost world. The initial video footage from the ROV was nothing short of miraculous, but the scientific process demands confirmation and detail. The first task was to officially date the wreck. While its form looked ancient, archaeologists needed proof. The key lay in the cargo. Close-up. Amphorae of a very specific type. Distinctive shape, distinctive handles, distinctive rim. These jars were the cardboard boxes of the ancient world. Their designs changed over time. Experts in Roman pottery immediately recognized the style. Dressel 20 amphorae, made in southern Spain. A major breakthrough, used to transport olive oil, from the province of Baetica, most common late 1st century BC to mid-1st century AD, during Augustus and Tiberius. The team could place the wreck in a narrow, exciting window. The vessel had sunk roughly 2,000 years ago. Next, create a complete, detailed record. Photogrammetry, ROV programmed to swim a precise grid. Thousands of overlapping high-resolution photos, images fed into powerful surface computers, software triangulated points in 3D space, built a photorealistic 3D model of ship and cargo. A digital twin lets archaeologists study without touching. The model was a stunning achievement. Zoom in on individual timbers, count the amphorae in the hold, measure every part with centimeter-level accuracy. It confirmed the extraordinary preservation. The model showed a ship approximately 25 meters, or 82 feet. The cargo was almost entirely undisturbed, suggesting the ship sank quickly in a storm, not run aground and broken apart. The impossible had been confirmed. This was the best-preserved Roman shipwreck of its era ever found.